It's really good to hear your voice. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Metal Massacre. This one's a fun one.
It is.
I'm really excited for this interview today. It's something I don't think we ever thought we'd do. A band we've loved for a long time, a band that has kind of defined part of my metal career and part of like what I love about metal, and I know has been really influential towards you too.
1,000%.
In a lot of ways. We talked with a member of Cradle of Filth, Zoe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just making sure. It's been a week since we recorded. I'm working a lot more. My brain is like halfway functioning half the time. She was really cool. The keyboardist and one of the vocalists of Cradle of Filth had a lot of cool stuff to say about this album and kind of the new feels that they brought towards this album, which I don't think we've really seen from Cradle of Filth in a while.
No, like honestly, to get right down to it, what we want to do today is just kind of run through the album with you guys, because a lot of the times we get embargoes or just we're doing it ahead of time so we can do promo, but this one's actually out and it's out not too long ago, so probably it's on some of your radar already. But we besides being able to get to talk to her, we had the unique experience of being able to actually like hear everything while still having a taste and then being able to put this top of show. So it was a perfect time, but let's get right down to it. Yeah.
Also, this is the first episode I think we've done in person since like Halloween.
Yeah. Sitting in the same room, by the way.
We had the opportunity to do today and we said, let's just do it in person. We haven't done an in-person one forever. So welcome back to those episodes. We'll try to sprinkle in a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Obviously, it's probably easier for us to do interviews when we're all online. I think things are just easier gelled that way than trying to make it produced live. And
earlier, Arch Enemy, we had Shaylee.
Shaylee.
That we did that one here.
Yeah,
but that was one of the last times too. So I guess that would have been this season. But yeah, no shit. So if you're on YouTube. That's why it looks fucking different.
It's been a minute.
And it does probably sound a little different because we're on the same board, and same everything. It's nicer. So we try and do that when we have important recordings, like this one is.
Like this one.
But I wanted to bring up the, you saw us bringing up our phones here. We needed to like look at the track listing here again. So
Screaming of Valkyries.
You said it was interesting. To do an album review of this one for me, if I had to like actually get like hardline, like I was really trying to review it, it would be put really well without stepping on the episode and like a lot of the things that we talk about there, where there's a lot of nostalgia about what Cradle of Filth is to a lot of people and has been around, and whether you like black metal or not, and like some of the rumors they've had, they're iconic. And then if you're going to do something different and innovate, that scares some people and it doesn't for others, because they're like myself, I've always been a fan of theirs, but like the black metal European style isn't like my go-to all the time.
Sure.
And so for me, this album, let's just say it is, I mean, it sounds stupid to say heavier, but like it's just a lot more like almost like a death metal album. There's elements of stuff that don't just put themselves in that black metal. Yeah. Like the vocals work in the exact same way with what Danny's doing. And there's still the theatrics. There's still the very gothic, big, vibrant, orchestral personality that is put into a lot of this. But I think that most importantly, the thing that stood out to me is someone who's loved them, but now is like, this is actually pushing it closer to the kind of genre that I listen to more often. Yeah. I personally love it, but I also think that it's very clear that it's holding true to everything that they've already done. This is just an innovation forward and what they're doing now. And they get into it in the interview later, but like there's American people in the band now, and there's different influences and different literal corners of the world coming together for the same kind of cause.
I kind of knew you were going to say that, like the whole, like it's coming closer to the things that you like, because when I was listening to it, I remember thinking like, yes, it's Cradle of Filth, no doubt.
And that's
like
no other as well.
Yeah. No other band could sound like Cradle of Filth, but Cradle of Filth, but it has this, I don't want to say Americanized because it's not just an American thing, but it's got this like, I don't know, just grassroots death metal feel to it.
It does. It feels like old school Florida death metal.
And that is so not what you're used to with Cradle of Filth. No. You're used to her Ghost in the Fog kind of songs. Like everything's like very precise and orchestral and huge. Yeah. And Danny's voice is just like evil sounding. So it's kind of got this like juxtaposition to the music.
And a lot of that like single note strumming.
Yeah, everything's in a minor scale. So
stuff.
It sounds evil and shit. Like you're used to that. And they do bring some of that here. But I think they pulled the reins back a little bit on being orchestral.
Yeah.
And now it's more focused on the band itself working with Danny in a different medium.
Yeah, like having new members is always going to do that, as we know, but like as anybody knows.
For sure.
But especially when you're talking about like legacy bands, and let's use the biggest, stupidest example is like AC/DC, where it's stupidest not, but like it just he tried to sound exactly like him. Like we're hiring you to do this, the Van Halen stuff. But like at this point in modern metal, I mean, Cradle of Filth is one of the more iconic things in metal for people that are
especially
like really
black
digging
metal.
into it.
Like they changed the face of black metal.
They're probably, let's just say, like not. It's like if you ask someone like that on the street, name a skateboarder, they'll be like Tony Hawk.
Right.
Like if you ask someone who's like into heavy music but doesn't listen to a lot of black metal, they'll be like Cradle of Filth.
Which is funny because I feel like
to change it's one of those wild.
It's one of those things where there's such a recognizable name, but that doesn't make them washed out or sellouts or anything like that. It's a badge of honor in a way where they came from like nothing to create something that all the members throughout time have created, this thing where it's a brand that is so household name, but is still on the outs of society. I guess it's like what Korn was in the early 2000s, late 90s to black metal.
I guess this is all to say is because like for us, first of all, again, it's available now. Like you can go listen to it. And so I highly recommend
Screaming
you do.
of Valkyries.
I think this is one of my favorite albums that I've heard of theirs. Yeah. But again, once you listen to it, you'll get what we're saying. It seems like we're making a huge deal over nothing, but like, and it kind of is, but that's literally what we're supposed to do is be entertaining.
We're a music podcast. Get over it.
What do you mean?
No.
But at the same time, like, there's all of these things I've said, I mean positively as well. Because like, again, I am a fan and like, I think that they're a household name. It's a badge of honor, but like it's so people are so used to that and more of the same would be great. Yeah. So if you change it, we're going to like, it's not so drastic that I feel as if it warrants a discussion of like, what happened?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't put it that way at all.
This is roots down, but like it obviously has. It's just fucking more chuggy. I think it's thicker.
It's thicker. It's more chuggy. The drums are more prevalent. It feels more like a death metal band and less like you're listening to Danny Filth with a keyboardist and an orchestra. Yeah. It's more System of a Down and less Serge Tankian.
You're 100%.
You know what I mean? Exactly. Like it's got more of that. Like you could see this live, and honestly. This might be a swing out of the dark, but you could see them play these new songs live and almost get a new appreciation for the band as a band, because it really rings true to more of that band dynamic, which I think is so important with a band like Cradle of Filth. When the guy who pretty much owns it is named Danny Filth and it is his band, like everyone's going to be like Danny Filth, what's he want to do all the time? But it's nice to know that in a brand this big, that they are so focused on new talent having a say, because in reality, Zoe could have gone just given us all the presser answers and been like, well, here's what I know and here's what they tell me. And but in what actually happened is she came on and pretty much spoke on that and was so forward about like Cradle is really important and they want to focus on the nostalgia of the band, at the same time focusing on actually moving forward as a band. Yeah,
because that just shows that I don't think that like, because they've been around for so long that not like there were ever rumors of slowing down, but like that this is something that's like, no, it's going to continue as long as I can fucking possibly do this, because they're willing to change and they're willing to take risks.
This is a signal of hope for this band.
Yeah, and I don't think it is a risk, or not to disagree with you, or like a signal of hope.
Well, in a way, though, it is, because if you think about it, they're not, I wouldn't say abandoning, but they're shelving their previous selves to come out of this like cocoon as a different band. And that's scary no matter how you do it.
Yeah, it just shocked me that like how modern and good and like
modern's a good word for it.
It brought everything to a level that they haven't done before. And I feel like it was obviously like a conscious choice that doesn't seem like it was something that was like that hard to do, though. It's just how the music came apart. Like it
doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like this was a studio decision. It doesn't feel like this was an upper executive person telling them you need to make it more this way. It felt like everyone really had a say in this. And from a band that has been spearheaded by one person for the last 30 years. That is a refreshing take.
It is.
How many times do you hear of like, well, it's really just, their band.
Mm-hmm.
Like we play in this band, but this one person is creatively in control of everything. Sometimes that's good in the case of like Brendan Small with Death Clock.
Sure.
I think if he wasn't at the helm, it wouldn't function the way it does. Mm-hmm. But then other times you hear of bands like maybe Megadeth at times where people are like, he's really good and he is the band, but damn, he's difficult to work with. Like, it's nice to see a band of this caliber take this risk and do it in a way that almost doesn't even make it a risk.
Yeah. No, like I said, I think it seems like the logical evolution. And again, it's just, we're speaking so candidly because again, it's just something that everybody knows. And so it's having a juxtaposition against itself in this regard. Like I said, it's not jilting. It's not crazy.
No. But God, they go some places I never thought they'd go. I want to know right off the bat, what's your favorite track off the?
Honestly, I think probably like Demagoguery.
Dude, I was going to say that too.
Yeah. Like I think that
I literally sat there and go, is Danny Filth rapping right now?
It's also because it's like the second song in the album. And we talk a lot about like when we ask people if albums, come in order for a reason. And like your track listing should matter for a reason. Even
if you're painting a story, for sure.
And even if it's just a 4 or 5 song EP, it's the same way you build a set. Like I want this feeling at this time. And this would make the logical sense to give people a break or like, to hit them even harder. And like, however that.
For sure. I mean, when we play shows, there's a song we start with, there's a song we finish with. Everything is debatable between.
Yes.
Because that sets the stage where we want it to be. And I think as an album or an EP, you're right. You have to consider that.
That second song, though, Demagoguery or Goggery, whichever way.
I think it's Demagoguery. I can't.
Because like
because how he says it. Yeah.
But the way that that's built into the set list for the album here and the way that it's showing off a lot of the things that we've already explained a lot of, like the thickness of the drums, the thickness of adding just like more chuggy, heavy, full guitar sounding as opposed to the single note, like that kind of stuff. Like it's really something that I think was a perfect place to put it to sell the album. And so like, that's a very smart business decision in my regard.
Yeah. Cause you start off with something strong that still sells you, but then you hit them with a left hook and they're like, what?
And you did like almost like an old, I don't know. But they made the choice to live deliciously, which is a funny.
That was a good one. That's a very Danny Filth like name.
And that was the single that was out like, hey, you have this as the single that's been released. Now look at the album and pre-save it and get ready for it. So like to put that as your like essentially leading track number 1 is like that was already like that was a bold decision to put that song there because it does sound different and it's going to lead people into the album. If they just click on the album, it's the first thing they click. Like they're hanging their balls on this song
for sure.
But then to pay off and then to go straight into the second song where it's just like, again, like you said, is he like rapping? It's thicker. It's like, it's just, oh shit, they're really doing it. That wasn't like a one-off thing that they're going to change their style.
You know what? It kind of made me, sorry to cut you off, but you know what the rapping thing made me think? It made me think this is what Dinosaur, was it Dinosaur? What was
Dinosaur
the
Jr.?
Yeah. Is that the band where the guy's like,
no, Dinosaur Jr.'s.
What's the one about dinosaurs where the guy's like rap screaming?
Oh, dude,
what? There's a band that's like famous on Instagram because their vocalist did this thing where he's like putting his eyes backwards so you can only see the whites, and he's like, whoa, and he's like rap screaming.
Oh,
you know who that is? I don't remember.
I've seen.
I wrestled dinosaurs band once. Like I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Anyway, it made me think that's what those guys were trying to do is sound like he sounded there, because I was thinking this is how you do those vocals in a rap flow
style.
And not sound fucking stupid.
Yeah,
like that sounded cool. I was literally like, Danny Filth is rapping right now. Oh my god, why do I like this?
Why are we doing this?
This is great. Are you gonna drop some 808s on me, Danny? Like,
please. But no, for real though. Like I think that was probably one of my favorite songs on the album. I mean, there are others, and again, like I said, there's a couple songs in this list that I would just go listen to it without having to name them off, and also because I'm not going to play it for copyright rules. But like, there's a couple songs on here that do give you still that like the same thing that fans want, the orchestral stuff, the lots of synth, and like being able to slow down here and there, and then also hit the traditional things that they're kind of known for. That's all still here.
Yeah.
And it's 9 songs. It's just under an hour. So like you could play 1 or 2 if you are still just trying to get the singles out of it. I mean, honestly, just start the album from the top and piece it apart. That's what I would do. go with the flow of what the album's been built to be. Some stuff is great on shuffle. I think this would be fine on shuffle. Sure.
I think it would be, but I think it would pay off more if you didn't.
This pays to go in order.
Yeah.
And like, whether you're exactly paying attention to like the story of the like the lyrics or stuff like that, can't talk. It was more the vibe, just the vibe,
Yeah.
like how the songs are. This is supposed to exhibit this feeling here.
I'll
and
tell you
this is
something,
supposed to
though.
exhibit this feeling here.
Exactly. And if this is how Cradle of Filth is playing things now, I'm really excited to see what that Ed Sheeran single is.
Yeah, we asked
I want to
her
know if
about
Ed
it.
screams. Ed, are you screaming? Like,
Yeah,
what are
come
we
on,
doing
man.
here? Like, I want to know. This is. I'm dying. I bet it'll drop this year.
Yeah, it's
There's been so much hype on this fucking song
whatever it is,
and
is-
negative press.
I'm-
Just like both ways. Like,
but it's clicks, and I'm cautiously curious.
it's
Who
gonna
knows?
shred. I know it'll shred. Dude.
I don't know what it'll be, but like I'm sure it's something that they're doing besides just to have Ed Sheeran on a thing. And like again,
How upset would you be if they just took that Bad Habit song and made Danny Filth do the vocals?
actually I'd be more excited.
You'd be more excited. I would listen to that all day.
Actually, that's what I want it to be, and everything else can not.
No, I'm
But-
excited because that's something that like people are so just like I think it fucked a lot of people's brains when they said they were going to do that.
Yeah,
So I'm like, now the anticipation is what's going to make it, you know,
I get that people were like,
because it's an odd pairing.
yeah, like,
did-
are you
they
doing
knew
this
that
for
walking
clout? Are
into
you
it.
doing this for why are you guys doing this? But then like when we had to, not had to, but we were going to, and you brought it up. You asked Zoe about it directly, and she was like, "Hey, first of all, I can't tell you because we just haven't released the song. But
Yeah.
like, as far as like what it is like Ed Sheeran is a metalhead, and she'll tell you that. So like, to hear it from the horse's mouth directly, to be like, this is where like you can
Yeah, I heard that
you can
too.
put me on record and say that like
Yeah.
no, he reached out because he likes the band, is European, wants to know if he can do a collaboration with us. That's insane.
Yeah.
And like they're like, of course, how do we
Right.
make that happen? Like we'd be stupid not to. So I will, for anyone that's like, I mean, I might not like the song either. I don't really.
You never know.
I
Yeah.
don't really give a fuck
I
about
still think
Ed
it's
Sheeran.
important to talk about. Like, that's a crazy thing that's happening.
But that's like it's a cultural mixing. It's like a fucking Taylor Swift did a metal thing. It's almost that big.
That's like
in
if
certain parts of the
Slayer and
world.
Taylor Swift did a fucking album
Slift.
together. Slifter.
Slifter, dude. We just made a new band.
Could you imagine that? Taylor Swift opening for Slayer, or actually it'd probably be Slayer
And
opening for
that's
Taylor
how I'm
Swift.
going to get the inspo to write the songs. It's Taylor Swift a la the style of Slayer.
Metallica and Olivia Rodrigo.
I can do this. I can fucking do.
My wife yelled in the other room because she's so mad. That
I
said
think
that.
I can do
That's
this. Actually, but
That-
regardless,
This is the world we're moving into, and I'm kind of stoked to see it. Like, I'm stoked to see more weird collaborations.
honestly,
We haven't even heard the song yet, and I'm already excited just at the idea.
why not? Life is supposed to be fun. Let
Yeah.
people. It probably like again, it'll make them some money. Sure, it'll probably get some hate. Sure,
Uh-oh.
all of that sounds good.
Uh-oh.
Sure.
Do we have a guest?
Ed Sheeran, Cradle of Filth.
Yep, she's in support.
Yeah,
She loves
see,
it.
that's all. That
She's
matters.
a big Ed Sheeran person, and she loves Cradle of Filth. So
I like.
that
I
was
like me
natural.
some. I'm like. I don't really listen to him ever, but like, it's not like I'm like, oh fuck him. Like, I don't care. Like, I think his songs.
I mean,
he's a
his
good
songs come
songwriter.
on at my work, and I'm not hating it. That's all I know. I like him. The club is where I go. Ooh. Like just like shit like that. And I'm like, all right, dude. Like, I get it. Like,
Right
play
on.
your shit. And honestly, like, I don't know. He's like one of those dudes where I never really got the impression that his music was like what he listened to.
That's a good way to put it.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like,
I
he
mean-
never seemed like the guy where I was like, oh, you're listening to like Jason Mraz and John Mayer.
No, you're
You know
not.
what I mean? No, you're listening to Cradle of Filth and fucking Salt and Pepper.
But I can
Like,
sing.
his playlist must be fucking weird.
Ed, what is Ed Sheeran's playlist?
What does Ed Sheeran
comment
listen to?
below. What
That's
you
going to be the
think.
title of this fucking.
What does Ed Sheeran's playlist look like?
Yeah,
I have nothing for you, actually.
I
No.
want to know now. Like, kind of.
Kinda
One day
weird.
we should get in touch with his people and just be like, we need to know. We're a metal outfit. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
But for real though, I think this album, like we've kind of given it a good setup of a vibe. But like whether it's curiosity or general intrigue,
mm,
go listen.
Yeah.
I think it's worth your time. I think it's 100%, whether you're a fan or someone who hasn't been a fan or doesn't care, it's worth your time. I would give this a check out because it is going to blend a couple of styles that you're not used to, both for fans that are there and or new. And like, it's iconic. I'm sure most people that are listening to this band are very aware of, like, I mean, listening to this podcast are very aware of the band, but like, I would say at the end all be all, it's an hour. You can break it into sections. It all fits really well, but play it in order. And it's worth our time to check out because I just think it's a good album overall, especially the way they designed it and makes it like it's obviously supposed to hit these.
Very thought out.
Very thought out is a good way to put it. But like I said, it was a bucket list thing to be able to talk to anybody from Cradle of Filth, much less we've gotten to have Danny Filth like do some cameo stuff with us before. And like being able to talk to Zoe, who's a newer mind on it, I think was a great way. Honestly, it was like best case scenario because like we really got to pick the brain of someone who's also excited to be there. And the interview is great. Like she did a fantastic job. Was professional about everything, but also wasn't so guarded just to do the presser stuff, like you said. And I think it was an honest interview about a band that we all know and love. And like, so now here comes from someone who's like a fan of the band, who's there and is free to have their, like you said, their own expression on it. And it doesn't feel like just one person's project. It's still Cradle of Filth, even if it's going to go down this direction and it's successful. Everybody fucking knows that. And it's not like a God complex thing. This album sounds like everyone is highlighted evenly. I'm wildly impressed with it. And I think that it's something that is like, is it my favorite thing I've ever heard? Like that's not fair to say. And I don't care. Like it's something that I think is a good fucking metal album. And I think you should listen to it.
I will say my final thoughts are like, I think for me, I was in a cloud with Cradle of Filth for a long time. They were always a band that was important to me, but I mean, I've gotten a couple of their albums before this. Some of it I liked, some of it I was just like, I don't know, like it's Cradle of Filth. This is a band that to me is breaking out of that shell, and they're doing it at a time that is very important for metal. Yeah, I think if you are a metalhead and you've listened to Cradle of Filth, you've never heard of Cradle of Filth, this is the 9,000th time you've heard of Cradle of Filth, but you've never given it a shot. I think it is very important to check out this album because this is one of those albums I think that is going to shift where things go. If a band like this that has been so in this pattern for so long can take such a big leap and make it effortless, then what other bands are possibly capable of the same thing? And in what direction are they going to go? Now, they don't have to do like a number 12 Looks Like You and go jazz fusion into grindcore, but I'm saying like it's possible. Like one of the things we thought was never possible with metal, which is to change it in this big of an extent, is actually happening on a daily basis nowadays. I mean, you talk about bands like Spirit World, who just dropped Helldorado, which we will have a review of coming up. They've blended this genre that no other band in the world has ever done before.
That's true.
And no one else can do it like they do it.
I mean, for better or for worse, look at some of the biggest, metal acts of today. Like the biggest moving hard rock or metal acts of today is like Beartooth, Falling in Reverse. I could go on, but like those metalcore Spirit Box, Ginger, like the female fronted stuff. But like all of those blend a lot of like some of the heaviest shit that like regular people would be like, I don't really you know what I mean though. It's like people are like, I don't listen to heavy music like that. Blended in with like pop elements and rap elements and like some of the stuff that just like there's electronics in almost every modern metalcore band, and like having that kind of stuff was just something you just really didn't have much of. And if you did have it back in the day or whenever that was, it was in a completely different style to utilize electronics or keys.
Oh, for sure. And now it's just the norm. But I also think like we've had it for so long that we end up taking it for granted eventually. It's like different. And now, this is one of those bands that nothing is taken for granted. You hear every note of every instrument at every time and every supporting harmony. I said this before and I'll say it again. This is more System of a Down than it is Serj Tankian. Yeah. But it's done in a way that has that orchestral thought. Yeah. To where nothing is out of place. That's true. I think that's just so rare. So like I said before, if you're a metal fan, if you're a Cradle fan, if you've never heard of them before and you're just now getting into heavier music, shot. This could be a pivotal album for you, I would say. So I wouldn't just say give it a shot. Like listen to it and soak it in And if you love it, if you hate it, if you can't stand it, or if you can't live without it, let us know in the comments below.
Mm-hmm.
You're watching this on YouTube, you're listening to this on Spotify. Hey, guess what, you motherfucker? You can comment on Spotify now. What the world are we living in? I'm wild. 33 and I feel like I'm going senile.
I'm uncomfortable with it, but I do it anyways.
You know how many weird messages I've left Joe Rogan? Not going to say it again.
Why are you wearing gloves?
No, that's the Tech 9 messages. I think there was side note here for a second. I think there was maybe 135 different pictures that I commented on Tech 9's Instagram post. And when he was wearing gloves, I would say gloves. And then when he wasn't wearing gloves, I would say no gloves. And then eventually I would mix it up and go, why no gloves, bro? And then I would just be like, I noticed you're wearing gloves. And then he literally he messaged me a couple times and he responded a couple times to my messages and was just like, dude, are you okay? I think he remembers meeting me too. I worked one of his shows as a roadie and I helped bring in all his shit. And we talked, and I think he knows who I am, and it's just why is this guy obsessed with my gloves? And now that he brought it up again, I'm gonna keep doing it.
I hope you do.
I'm gonna start doing this again because I stopped a year ago, and I haven't done it since. And I wonder if he remembers, and I'm gonna do it again, and he's gonna go, "Oh no, this guy's back."
He's back.
I wonder how long it's gonna take for Tech 9 to block me.
If you're not doing a roadie now, but I just like to envision you're pushing a giant road case and pull up and be like, "What's in this?" I'm like, "This bad boy."
Yeah,
fits so many gloves in it. Dude.
So many gloves in this bitch.
This bad boy could fit so much spaghetti gloves in it.
It's just a weird thing that I've noticed about him and several other rappers that here's the thing, people that he affiliates himself with, they do it too. And I'm like, what is this glove gang that I'm not aware of?
We gotta start looking if Ronnie Radke's wearing gloves because they did that one song together.
He wore
So we got now we're gonna transfer the gloves.
Dude, that's so crazy.
Over to Ronnie Radke and falling in reverse.
No gloves.
I mean, it.
Why are you wearing gloves?
Why'd you tattoo on your gloves? Permanent gloves.
I would never fuck with Ronnie Radke again after my exchange with him on Twitter.
Yeah, no, and I wouldn't, and I really don't want to, but I'm gonna look up one of his
Maybe I will. I don't know. We're fucking chaotic here.
What are we doing here? Please end the show for me.
Please end the show. Guys, thank you for listening to Metal Massacre. We're gonna go be weirdos. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your day. I don't even know if we're putting this ahead of this interview or after it, but fucking, I hope you enjoyed it. Bud.
Oh, it doesn't matter. There.
What?
See, I got one of them right there, and I'm just going to comment permanent gloves.
Permanent gloves. We're starting a revolution, folks. Now. Dear God. That's my bad. What'd you say?
I was going to say, I know the Blizzard Entertainment sweatshirt, by the way. Is that in honor of the current Blizzard?
A little bit, yeah. I got it about a month ago, and I wear it off and on. And then today I was like, this is appropriate. I'm going to wear this. But
it's your fault. You jinxed it.
You certainly did. Welcome to the cold open of Metal Massacre, everybody. Cold again. I got all the puns, baby. We got all of them. Let's just get right into it. We have Zoe from Cradle of Filth here. You all know who we are, and you don't care, but we care very, very much about what Zoe has to say today. So first of all, thank you so much for scheduling some time and getting in with us. We appreciate it.
It is my pleasure.
But yeah, Lucian and I have, it goes without saying. Cradle of Filth is iconic, and we're guys in our mid 30s. And so pretty much our entire life where we've given a shit about music, it's been on our radar. So not only is this something right off the top that is yes, we grabbed a really good one because we'll grab anybody. We love putting bands, new bands onto people, and that's half of the show's progress. But this is something that we've been really looking forward to. So again, thank you so much for taking the time. And we're obviously aware that you do the keys, a lot of keys and that kind of tracking work for that kind of stuff. For the band.
And really, really badass vocals as well. Let me just say that. Very. Before we dig any deeper, I just want to say, when I checked out the new songs that are available, oh my God, dude. It not only does it fit that Cradle of Filth vibe, you're right where in the pocket of that sound that Danny goes for, but your vocals added so much to the new music. I love it so much. So just hats off for that right away.
Oh, thank you. That's very, very sweet of you. I'm coming again on the heels of such talented predecessors like Sarah Jezebel Deva and Lindsay Schoolcraft. So it's quite nerve-wracking. So thank you for saying that.
Now, was it how much of a struggle was that? Did you feel oh my God, I'm stepping into these shoes? Was the pressure a lot? And how did you deal with it?
It was crazy high pressure. You know, I'm in the same generation as you guys. I'm in my mid-30s pretty much. So I grew up listening to like Midian, older Cradle of Filth stuff. And so there was this immense pressure to live up to the band's huge legacy.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially like the Midian era and Sarah Jezebel's vocal writing, because she wrote some crazy intense vocals. Like the intervals she chooses in Ghost in the Fog are ridiculous.
Yeah.
So much fun, though. So much fun. Don't get me wrong. So yeah, it was a pressure to live up to the nostalgia and the legacy of the band, but also feel like I defined myself as the new vocalist as well.
I totally feel like with these 3 new songs, especially White Hellbore, like it's set. The die has been cast. I honestly, like, I think this has been you like really earning that place. You know what I mean? Like when I hear your voice, it there's no like, oh, well, there's a different singer. Like it completely fits in with Cradle of Filth. So, I mean, again, hats off for that. But I'm excited to see what the rest of this album's gonna sound like, because one of the first things I noticed was it's a lot heavier than what I'm traditionally used to from, like, I guess earlier Cradle. Like
Very true.
Very much leaning into more death metal than I guess the revision of black metal that we're used to with Cradle. Was that something that was kind of, do you feel like Cradle was always working towards this sound? Or was that something that kind of came out of left field, I guess?
Well, you have 2 new people in the band. Well, new, we've been here for 3 years. Me and Donnie Burbage, another American. And I think both me and Donnie are coming from a more modern perspective too. So we combine both our nostalgia as old fans of the band with our newer influences. And Donnie and I have definitely both worked in death metal before, melodic death metal, symphonic death metal. So the death metal influences you're hearing probably could be attributed at least in part to that, to the new blood in the band. Also, you know, we had our bass player, Daniel Firth, who we call Dougal. He had a much larger writing role on this album than on previous albums. And I think he's bringing a lot of that classic heavy metal sound too, like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest stuff. So I think you have Cradle going in some directions it hasn't gone in before, while at the same time nodding to its past.
I definitely agree with pretty much everything both of you just said, and like I'm glad we took it there, because it's interesting for me to hear that, like you said, the bass player is doing a lot more of the writing. You know, in a lot of bands, especially when you're talking about modern metal, you know, the keys, whether they're like a part of the actual pushed out music or not, keys are usually used to write the music. Like, here's the bass line of what we're, no pun intended to the bass, but like, here's the exact thing that we're going to kind of build this off of. But then to hear that the bass player is doing a lot of writing with that more of like a old school sound to it, I was getting a little bit of like the gallopy and less of like the single note grinding that black metal and European metal generally gives. So that's honestly, that's valuable insight, because it kind of shows me a couple like of my favorite songs. All right, I'm seeing the pieces move now.
It's all coming together.
Yeah. Screaming of the Valkyries is out now as you're listening to this. It's available completely right now. It's a 9-track album. In the typical style, though, the one thing that hasn't changed, there are 7-minute, 6.5-minute. I love that you guys are not afraid to still, even though you're evolving, you're still doing you could call it old school, because everything is like, hey, 2 minutes, TikToks, reels, quick. Like that, I understand that's why people do things, so you can build singles nowadays. But I love that you guys have some really long and like really intricate songs that bring you around in like a story almost in every one of those songs. When it comes to the writing process and stuff like that, because you're, again, so involved with both multiple parts from both melody and rhythm writing, I would say. How was it for you trying to incorporate keys into like this newer style, I suppose?
Well, it depended on the song, because some songs it was keys first. Like the keys came as the inspiration for the whole song. That was the case for Malignant Perfection and White Hellebore, for instance. And then other songs, the guitars came first, like on To Live Deliciously. So it really depended where in the process I felt inspired to come in. I wasn't the only keys writer on this album. Donnie actually wrote quite a bit of the keys. And we had a studio programmer who adjusted the sounds, because we were going for a less orchestral sound and more kind of synthy with some orchestral elements. And it was Sam Whale, his name is, who did the programming and some of the writing here and there as well. But it really depended, again, song by song, where I felt inspired to come in. Sometimes I came first, other times I came at the very end.
That's interesting. I mean, I feel that we play music as well, and I feel like when you're chasing that inspiration, it's fun to see where it comes from, because people think like, oh, the guitarist comes in, they write all the songs, and then you all build around it. And sometimes the drummer writes songs. Like I've seen it in every direction. So it's interesting to me that this is kind of that kind of meld of different starting points. Like I'm going to listen to this album and kind of try to guess who started what based on like what I'm hearing and stuff. And I love getting kind of the backstory behind things. And so like Dustin mentioned, the Screaming of Valkyries, as you're listening to this now, will already be out. I want to know, in your opinion, what does this album mean for you personally, but what does this also mean for Cradle?
For me personally, this album is a massive nervous undertaking again as a long-term Cradle fan. I'll put it that first and foremost for me, it's that, because it's my first album with the band. I'm an old fan of the band. I know how much people love this band, how many people say this is their favorite band. So the pressure to make an album that they love is immense. And so the album for me represents this kind of leap of faith. I'll say that. What it means for the band in terms of our evolution and the themes running throughout. In interviews, Danny has said that the album title, Screaming of the Valkyries, is about the current state of the world and the chaos and the heavens literally being torn asunder. There's kind of an echo back to Dusk there. Yeah. The Valkyries are screaming. And so much of the album is his commentary on the world right now and kind of these big existential questions therein. And on one track in particular, Non Omnis Moriar, which is one of my favorites, especially lyrically, he really dives deep into this idea of what happens at the end, what happens when we're gone.
I like that.
But then also the album goes through this full spectrum of despair at the chaos to ending on an almost hopeful note in When Misery Was a Stranger, the last track on the album. So you have this complete journey through the chaos of the world around us to accepting our fate and finding beauty and hope in it too.
That's an awesome message. I love that. Because honestly, how many times have you heard a darker, heavier band just go completely negative? You know what I mean? Like it's easy to do in this genre, in metal, you think of the back even in Satanic Panic era, we're all using pentagrams and devil, and it all is dark, and it doesn't have to be though. Like even though the themes can be darker, you can still bring it and make it uplifting, and I think that's pretty freaking cool, to be honest. Like you're just hyping me up for this. The people who don't know this, who are listening, don't know that as of right now, it comes out like in a day or two. So I'm going to be right on this. I probably want to do an album review, Dustin. Yeah, we'll do a full episode album review of this, because that would be fun as hell. But so that's really cool. I mean, yeah, I can totally feel how that's a leap of faith for sure. Because God, I feel like Cradle was one of those bands where it's like black metal before Cradle and then black metal after. Yeah, because I mean, in all realism,
there's a time marker for that for sure.
They did change the genre. It became less of noise and making this super secret club and more of like bringing it into the commercial world and actually like playing with the elements and making them a little more orchestral and making them a little more that direction. So like, yeah, I could see how that's a huge undertaking, but hey, you did it. You're done. Now it's on to the next one, right? I mean, so do you guys have a tour coming up soon then?
We have a lot of touring coming up. We have North America and Canada next month, full North America run. We'll be out there for 6 weeks. Then we have like 10 days off before we dive into the summer festival season with some shows in between the festivals. And then we only have 1 more month off before the next unannounced tour. So nice. It's going to be nonstop go, go, go. But it's fun. I'm touring with not just my husband, but some of my best friends, and that makes it much more, enjoyable to be around the world exhausted all the time when you're surrounded by people you like.
Yeah. I totally get that. And your social battery's drained, but you're like, I got you next to me. We're good.
If there is someone that I can be around besides my husband, of course, when I'm exhausted and stressed out, it's Donnie Burbage, because Donnie, it doesn't feel like Donnie ever drains social batteries. He just, refills you up. So
that's
a lot of him in particular. It's fun to tour with Donnie.
Hell yeah. That sounds really fun.
I think in every band, at every level, at any band, I think there's always like, it's obvious it's better if everybody has chemistry. And, you know, a lot of the times they do if you're going to have to be stuck in a bus or a plane or on the road. But there's always like one or two people in the band that really gravitate towards each other. Like we're our panic buddy when we're on the road together. Like, so it's nice to have someone that'd be like, oh, shit. All right. Yeah. All right, man. We got this. Let's go get a beer. Let's go do this. So that's always nice.
Let's get this bread.
Right.
100%. Well, you know, it looks like the tour is going absolutely everywhere as well. Like you already said, but we have plenty of American and international listeners. And so, but I basically what I'm telling the listeners here is you really can't miss them. I mean, there's California to Phoenix, San Antonio to Nashville, New York to Houston, like it's everywhere. So take a day off, go find them.
Exciting.
Make sure you catch them. And Flesh God Apocalypse is on a couple of these. I'm noticing right now. My God, Dying Fetus. Yeah, heavy lineup.
Ne Obliviscaris, like this is like a touring festival event, and it's going to be so much fun. Like I have to make sure I make time to see the other bands too, because I've always wanted to see Flesh God live. I love them. I've never seen them live, and now I'm like, okay, now I finally have my chance.
Now, if you don't, there's no reason. There's no excuse.
So now the question is. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say I have 30 chances to see them live now. Thank God.
So the question is, do you watch them for the first time you watch them? Do you watch them from side stage or backstage, or do you just get out in the crowd with them?
Right.
You got to watch from front of house. You know,
right.
I have that privilege. I have that privilege being on the tour. Thank God. So no, I'm going to watch from front of house. I want to hear it. So
that's the best sounding spot in the venue. Everybody knows that if you're paying attention too, because that guy wants it to sound good. Also, so as we said already when we did the pre-show little interview we like to get to know the people on the show themselves as well. We've done the due diligence. We've asked you all these questions, and you've done a great job of answering the presser. Now we want to know about you. Where did you come up? How did you find yourself getting into this band? Let's start from wherever you'd like to bring. We don't have to go all the way back to kindergarten. But
well, I was born.
But what got obviously most people, if I ask you, what got you into music? Because it's badass and it's fun, and you probably found a talent for it. But what gravitated you towards heavier music? How did you find yourself, probably older projects, into where you are now?
I am so lucky because my dad's a metalhead. And so I grew up with metal. So when I was growing up, my dad was having me listen to Iron Maiden and Fate's Warning and stuff, and also prog like Rush. So my first concert that I ever went to was my dad took me to see Rush. And my dad took me to see Iron Maiden, and so on and so forth. So my dad took me to concerts. He handed me records to listen to. And I was so lucky because I knew from a very early age, this is the kind of music I want to do. And then when I went to university, I studied classical music, and my professors asked me, what do I want to do with my classical vocal career? And I said, I want to sing in heavy metal. And then they stopped taking me seriously.
I've gotten that a couple times. I get that.
Yeah. So I had my first band when I was a teenager. It was called Insatiate. It was just me and a bunch of local guys. And then these days I'm also in a symphonic metal / symphonic death metal band called Catalyst Crime that I started with the ex-drummer of Zandria, Garrett Lamb. So I have that going on as well. We do some touring and album releasing on the edges when Cradle's not busy. And I've also collaborated with Atrocity, German Death Metal, and the Vivaldi Metal Project. So I do a lot of co-writing, guest vocals, and I also help bands whose first language isn't English to translate their lyrics too.
Oh,
so
that's really
super
cool.
I could imagine that's like invaluable to them. That's probably something, because we've had a lot of European acts on here that, again, their English is good if they're gonna say it. Let's do a podcast with an American based band, but like I'm sure that's probably they're so thankful that you have that ability to do that with them. I'm guessing is probably the sentiment that they give you almost every time.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, how many times have you heard a band in another language and you're like, man, I wonder what they're saying, but I don't know Finnish. You know, like what is it, Fintroll? I love that band, but they have a lot of music that I'm like, man, I want to know what they're saying, and then I go look it up, and I'm like, in English, to me, it doesn't follow the same melody. So I always wonder like where that connect comes from, where you make it kind of follow the same melody. Or I wonder, like, are there times when you have to like completely kind of rewrite things in English in a different way?
Yeah, there have been times when the band has given me like a basic storyline they're trying to convey. And then I have the vocal melody and I write the lyrics to kind of fit that based on the general sense they've given me.
Yeah.
Other times it's a matter of changing a few words here and there to be more grammatically correct, make the flow a little bit better, suggest an alternative word. My background is also public education, oddly enough. So this kind of just fits in naturally to what I did in the classroom as well. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy doing it.
That's really cool. That sounds like something like I kind of want to start researching now. Like, to be honest, like that's Dustin lost power. So your dad was a metalhead. You grew up on metal. What was the first couple bands that you got into that were like not necessarily influenced by your dad, but like because he got you into metal and you went off and listened to yourself? Do you remember like your first couple? Like for me, it was probably like Lamb of God, and honestly, like Cradle of Filth, to be honest.
The first bands I found for myself that continue to have a huge impact on me as an artist were Epica, Nightwish, Within Temptation, Camelot, Amorphous, Dark Tranquillity, and Winter Sun.
Ooh, you kind of got a little bit of everything. I love that. That's a good mix.
That would be the list. So a lot of metal from Finland, which is, I'm actually part Finnish too. So that was quite funny to kind of loop back around and discover that part of my heritage through metal. That was really cool. Yeah. So I found those bands more on my own, and I introduced a lot of it to my dad, and he loved it too, because obviously it was a continuation of everything he had introduced me to. I've seen Nightwish with my dad twice, and Epica and Within Temptation. So, there we are.
Sorry.
And of course, like you said, Cradle of Filth, because when I was in high school, someone handed me a copy of Midian, and I was like, oh, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's really fun to hear people's like early influences in metal because you can kind of tell where they're going to go. Like Camelot, Dark Tranquillity, that all kind of makes sense when I hear your guys' style and what you bring to the table. I can kind of feel that the power of those things coming through as well. But Dark Tranquillity, we got to talk to Johan last, I think, our first season. Wonderful guy. Honestly, I have nothing but great things to say about Johan and that band I've slowly gotten into after we talked to him a little bit more. Dustin was a huge Dark Tranquillity fan, but it's kind of opened up that whole European door for me. Like I'm slowly getting back into it a little bit more. I would say in my like early 20s, it was when I really kind of got into European metal and melodic death metal and kind of experimenting with that stuff. But the one thing I like is I feel like it's always changing. Like there's a very specific sound to European metal, but there's always bands that are trying to get outside of that sound and kind of incorporate new elements. For the stuff we haven't heard so far, was there stuff you guys tried that maybe you hadn't tried before with Cradle on previous albums? I know this was your first, but did you feel like there were ever things that you were like, oh my God, we're doing this? That's insane. Big swing.
I think, again, speaking as one of the two new kids in the band, we brought some of our own more modern influences into it. When I was composing keys for, say, Malignant Perfection, the melodies just kind of popped into my head, but they're deeply influenced not only by Cradle's past Midian, but I also felt little tiny bits and pieces of symphonic metal in there.
Ooh.
Which of course Cradle has always played around with that anyways. So I think definitely you can hear some of my inspirations come out in what I did. I think you can hear a lot of what Donnie listens to coming out and what he does as well, because he's into more of the modern metal scene. So definitely there's some stuff in there that's new that Cradle hasn't approached yet. And so far it seems to be well received, which is a good sign.
Oh yeah, no, this is already kind of one of my favorite Cradle albums, I would say. Like I've got a couple on vinyl and like I said, we're longtime listeners. And immediately when I heard this, I went, oh my God, this is it's like Cradle amped up to 11. You know what I mean? It feels like you guys really took a lot of influences and jammed it all together in such a beautiful way. So I'm really stoked to hear the rest of this for sure. I can't wait. No, for sure.
I am definitely very excited as well, and I apologize. Like I said, we told you it might happen, so everyone's like, "Why is it?" I'm on my phone right now. I'm gonna try and I just got it back, so I'm gonna try and throw myself back in. But regardless, it
was gonna be one of us, man. You drew the short straw today.
I did. I did want to say though, without like any shorthanded compliments, that this is probably one of my favorite albums that Cradle has put out as well. That's really what I wanted to pop back in to say was, yes, that's a personal taste and style thing. but I'm really excited to hear the whole thing because we're a little bit before it. But yeah, it's super heavy, and I'm a huge fan, and even more of a fan now.
So I guess random question for you. Wasn't Cradle gonna do a collab that like I think a lot of people weren't expecting? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, of course. No, it's all anyone talks about a lot of the time.
I'm sure that's probably the main thing you're hearing right now is about it. Do you have any updates on that? Are you allowed to talk about it? If you're not, I'll
piggybacking off of what Dan has said in recent interviews, it's not on this album because it's kind of going to be a novelty in and of itself, and if it's on an album, it's going to take away from the attention on an album, any album it's on. So in the future, it's probably going to come out as something standalone.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I don't think you're going to have to wait too long for it. It was a question of coordinating the release with Ed Sheeran's team. And I know he's got his own release schedule going on right now as well that we've had to work around. So it's just a question of when are the schedules going to line up. I don't think we're going to be waiting forever for it. And I think it's going to, again, it deserves to be kind of a standalone thing by itself.
Oh, yeah. And I think putting something like that on an album, to me, if you're going to do that as Cradle of Filth, then I feel like the whole album has to be collabs that no one expected, like some kind of compilation. But I feel like putting it on an album, you're right, that would take away from the premise of it, because you guys, Cradle's always had this really good ability of formulating ideas and painting this tapestry and making every album a unique experience. So I feel like, it would just kind of distract, if anything.
Well, it would make it the Ed Sheeran album, not the Ed Sheeran song, So, that's the album with Ed Sheeran. I think it deserves to be known as more than that. So,
I think I speak for everybody when I say we are all waiting in anticipation just to see what it even sounds like.
Yeah, very curious as to how it holds itself and like what the vibe is. I could sit here and speculate all day, and you can't tell me until I hear it. So, but that's it's when we got that across the press wire, I was like, you what?
Well, I don't know about you, Dusty, but I've been hearing about this for like a year at least.
Right.
So I think the anticipation building is never a bad thing, but I think, the curiosity is the one thing I think everybody has in common where we're like, what would that even sound like? And I mean, is Cradle going softer? Is Ed going heavier? Like, what are we doing here? Like, so I think that's going to be one of those things that you guys are going to see a lot of people probably get into Cradle of Filth that didn't know Cradle, or resurface back into Cradle of Filth and be like, oh my God, they're doing something crazy right now. So I'm excited for that.
Such a smart move, I think. Like, I think you nailed it on the head there, dude. And I'm sure that it was probably in the same vein as what you guys were thinking, where it's just going to bring people that would never listen to like technical death metal or like symphonic metal. And then, Ed Sheeran. All right, I'll give that a shot. And like, I'm sure it's going to do its due diligence, but like, that's such a smart move to find someone that is obviously like an A-list person, but then beyond that, to find someone that'll grab people. I think you see that a lot in a lot of industries, where whether it's video gaming or movies, where you grab somebody that's kind of adjacent to it that then brings people not only to your product, but to that like medium. And that's so powerful, I think. And it's one of the best ways you can get some of the things done.
I knew I liked Ed Sheeran for some reason. I just couldn't figure out what it was until I heard this. That's so cool.
The thing is that I think people are really going to have this mindset going in, is that it's still very authentic because Ed Sheeran is a metalhead.
Yeah.
So is Lady Gaga, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many, pop artists that do listen to metal and do get inspired by metal. And from my understanding, it's Ed who actually approached Cradle of Filth for this collab, not the other way around.
Cool.
So I think when people say, oh no, this is such a gimmick, this is such a sellout, this is such a poser move, it's like, Ed Sheeran's a metalhead and he wants to create a metal song with a metal band. That's pretty fucking authentic, actually.
Right. 100%. And like
people typecast all the time. And because you play one song genre of music, you can't like another. And I never understood that with like fan bases. Like people, you would be surprised what inspires people. I mean, we do podcasting, we do music, and I'm inspired watching a reel on Facebook or watching an episode of Law and Order SVU. I mean, like, it comes from all different places, and I think it's really narrow-minded to expect somebody to quote unquote stick to their lane when their passions may not align with exactly everything they're doing all the time. And when I heard Ed Sheeran was a huge Cradle of Filth fan, I was like, oh, heck yeah, dude. Like that almost makes me want to go listen to Ed Sheeran's music. You know what I mean? Like even more than I already do. So it's just fun to find those things out. Like, are there any, I guess, other people who you would want to collaborate with Cradle if it ever came up, or if they ever approached you guys?
Man, I mean, that's really more of a question for Danny, who he would want to see us collab with in the future. But I think out of the box, surprising collaborations are the most fun. The ones that take people off guard, like Ed Sheeran. I doubt you would be able to kind of top that, like, where do you go from Ed Sheeran? Except maybe, like I said, Lady Gaga. I'm sure that would be a lot of fun, so.
I could totally see that as well. That would be really cool. She's got kind of a different aesthetic every single time she does something, but they're all jaw-dropping, and I think having the dark, seedy nature of the melodic black metal mixing with some kind of like loud, obnoxious in a good way, like pop, would be really fun. So that would be really fun for sure. But yeah, I guess time will tell. We'll have to keep our ears and our eyes peeled for this release, and whenever we do get to see it, I know it's just gonna blow up, man. That's gonna be so cool.
I think people will like it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, thank you for your time, Zoe. I really appreciate getting to talk to you. This was a dream come true for both of us, mid-30s metalheads. So thank you so much for all the wonderful answers. Excuse me.
We always ask. Yeah, go ahead, please.
I'll say I wish you both the best surviving this blizzard. Sounds kind of like, a Oregon Trail situation up there. I hope you have enough rations.
Yeah, no, I just went this morning, actually. So
yeah, I got a fresh case of beer. I've got plenty of food.
You're fine.
It's snow day, baby.
Yeah,
as long as
hold us over.
Internet goes out, so what? I got cards. I got stuff I can do. It's fine. And again, hey, thanks for bearing with me. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with me. Again, it's unprecedented amount of shit coming out.
It wouldn't be a podcast if someone didn't lose power. This is like the third or fourth time we've had a show and somebody lost power.
Oh yeah, Enterprise Earth when they were on.
Yeah, they lost power for a second.
That was on there, but they had like some crazy windstorm out of the mountains in Denver that just like knocked out all. It just keeps happening, and it's going to continue to happen. Before we let you go, because again we're hitting your time, and I understand. And again, thank you. Is there any final thing that, whether you personally or on behalf of the band, we always ask? Is there any final words you'd like to let our audience know before we let you go?
We hope that old Cradle of Filth fans find that nostalgic nod to the legacy of this band. It's an immense legacy, and we have tried to do it justice as best we can as fans ourselves. And I also really hope that to our newer listeners, to people who are just discovering Cradle of Filth, we hope you find something here that resonates with you, that empowers you. And so between the old and the new, let's look to the future and welcome aboard.
I love that. Heck yeah. Well, you've been listening to Metal Massacre, the only podcast that sleeps in corpse paint. Be good people.